Hey, LinkedIn, it's crazy. I've been on this platform probably since the beginning, and I rarely just post raw videos, but I decided I want to try something new every week. At MikMak, I have the great privilege of us working with over 2,000 of the biggest brands in the world. And a big part of how I spend my day to day is just talking to brand executives every moment of the day. If you listen to Brave Commerce, you know that I am a huge believer in peer learning. The pace of change in our industry is insane. There is no textbook for what we all collectively do, and the way that we learn is together. And so at MikMak, we do a monthly meeting called All Hands, and at the top of every meeting, I give the company an update on sort of what I'm thinking, feeling, seeing across the industry, so the entire collective company can be abreast. And I thought I would start sharing some of those topics with you on LinkedIn. Some might be controversial, others might be germane. I would love your feedback in the comments of this video, or feel free to give me a DM. But to kick it off, I'm recording this video mid-November 2024 in my New York office. And it's been a pretty wild month, I think, for the collective world, but absolutely in the United States. And so I thought the best first video to share with all of you is around the topics that I feel are on most brand executives' minds these days, given the global economic backdrop that we're all playing in. And so first and foremost, I think there's three main topics, no matter what you're selling, both online and in store. The first topic is generating profit. Without a doubt, Wall Street is rewarding companies that are profitable. If you look at the S&P 500, the companies that have been resilient are the ones that are putting up EBITDA. And this is a major change in the consumer economy, because for about 20 years, what the market rewarded was grow at any cost. And in 2022, we started to see how that impacted tech, but that's very much come true in 2024. Why? Because so many of us took advantage in many ways of the surge of demand that existed during the pandemic, right? Consumers wanted to buy your product. You didn't even have enough supply. And so what did brand manufacturers decide to do? Take price hikes. And many brands have taken 3 to 5 price hikes over the last 2 years. And this year we started to see consumers fight back with their wallets. At MikMak, we've seen a 20% reduction in the average basket size between 2022 and 2024. That has major implications on brand manufacturers, but also major implications on retailers. And so it's very clear that the consumer has become quite price sensitive, but we'll circle back on that in a second. The second big area of generating profit is in some ways at risk with the potential tariffs that Trump might impose when he becomes president. If you were following the presidential election, Trump was very outspoken that he plans to impose tariffs and increase foreign taxes if you're a company that manufactures goods in places like China. I think a lot of us who are probably listening to this video have facilities that are manufacturing products in China. And so here you are, you're a brand manufacturer. It's already been more expensive than ever for you to manufacture your product, bring it to market, advertise it, keep it on the shelf. And it's about to become a lot more difficult. And so the big question mark is, where can that cost go? Because brand manufacturers are not going to be able to drive profitability if they're expected to do everything that they're doing today, plus Trump's tariffs. Is that cost going to be passed on to the retailer? Is that cost going to be passed on to the consumer? I have some predictions based on all of my conversations with many of you who are probably on the other line, but I think those are questions that are on everyone's minds right now. The second is very near and dear to my heart, because I've essentially spent the last 20 years of my career and the last 10 years of MikMak focused on this next big thing that remains on brand executives' minds, which is, how do you generate demand and move volume sales? If you look at major CPG earnings throughout 2024, it's pretty clear. Volume sales are down, which is really interesting because brands continue to invest in marketing, in advertising, in media, especially in channels like retail media. So if you're a brand manufacturer, I think many of the conversations that you're having is, we continue to increase our retail media spend, but our volume sales are down. What's not adding up here? Now, of course, I have a very particular point of view in the ecosystem, but I do stand by it, which is if you want to increase your volume sales, you have to invest in upper funnel marketing. You have to remain top of mind for either American consumers or global consumers. And where does that happen? That happens in national digital brand channels like Meta and TikTok and video and celebrity and sponsorships. Now, we all know that retail media is trying to move upper funnel, but as I talk with all of you, I think there's a big question mark around whether it's actually able to drive upper funnel results. The second part that's challenging generating demand and driving volume sales is continued changes in data privacy. I think we all know it started with GDPR and CCPA and then cookieless internet. But if you looked at the Wall Street Journal article from last week, there's finally been a resolution between the EU and Meta in which advertising in the EU is going to become less personalized for advertisers there. Now, what typically happens in Europe then makes its way to America. So we have to think that there's going to be continued headwinds around data privacy. That's also going to be a challenge for driving demand and then moving someone down the path to purchase. And then finally, the last big topic that I will say is consistently on brand manufacturers' minds right now is how do we create consumers for life? And there's a really interesting behavior that has essentially been happening over the last 18 months. We've seen it in MikMak data across the board. And it's that the consumer is seeking value. But it doesn't mean coupons. It means what's valuable to me. I have a birthday coming up in March. It's not quite the big 4-0 yet, but I'm getting very close to it. And I share that because for me, I am thinking about my skin more than ever before. I'm willing to spend an irrational amount on skincare right now, and then I'm going to pull that money from other places. And maybe I'm pulling that money from eating out or travel or my grocery shopping. And I share this because there is a total bifurcation that's happening in the market right now, which is people are either willing to pay out for premium that matters to them, or they're going to trade down in all the other areas. And then the final thing, which is obviously something that I've been working on for the last 10 years, and I no longer need to convince brands this, because the retailers are finally singing the same mantra, which is if you want to earn shelf space, you got to be social first. You got to be able to show that you can actually drive sales velocity online. Because why? That's where the consumer starts. So if there's anything that I want you to remember and think about right now, and tell me if I'm totally off base, when I talk to 2,000 brands around the world, the three main topics that are on everyone's minds to solve going into next year is how do I generate profit? How do I generate demand while increasing volume sales? And how do I gain customers for life? I'm going to keep posting videos on these topics. Thanks for watching. See you soon.